Welcome to Coffee, Culture, and the Capital with Sophia and Greg.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We have an update for you guys all on AB 495. We've talked about it on the past couple podcast episodes. Last episode, we were telling you guys all to call the Senate Appropriations Committee, and then the bill is moving on to the floor. So now you guys all need to be calling your state senators. But there were some amendments made, and the amendments weren't necessarily clear when it was heard in the Senate Appropriations Committee. But we're going to dive into that, as well as today we're going to dive, I'm sure if you are on social media, you have seen that this week, the middle schoolers at a middle school in Temecula in California did a walkout because there is a male that has been changing in the girls' locker room. And again, I just want to emphasize this is middle school. So middle school students, girls and boys, did a walkout and said, we want these safe spaces for the females there. There was a school board meeting. There is a ton going on there. Policies in regards to mental health, religion. We're going to dive into all of that today. But Greg, before we do, what coffee do you have for coffee culture in the Capitol?
Well, we had a new coffee establishment open, replace a Starbucks across the street. And it's called Chocolate Fish Coffee Roasters. And so I wanted to try it out. You had bought me, when you were up here a week or so ago, you bought me a latte. I couldn't remember if it was a latte or a vanilla, but it was so good. I went back today and I bought just a simple latte with no sweetener. I thought, I'm usually big on sweetening, but it's good without any sweetener. So you know a coffee is good when you don't have to put sugar in it.
Yeah, There you go. I know when I was there, I got an iced Americano and probably one of the best Americanos I've ever had. So very glad there's now a local coffee shop instead of a Starbucks below the office. But I am back with just my little homemade Nespresso coffee with no sweetener added. There you go. But with that, Greg, AB 495, let's talk about those amendments, but maybe there's someone listening that hasn't heard about AB 495 yet. So can we get a quick little rundown about what it is?
Sure. This is a particular bill that is being promoted as a bill to deal with the situation where a person is taken by immigration and their kids are left in the lurch with nobody to care for them. And of course, that's a terrible situation, and there should be a way that parents can designate who kids go with in case they are arrested or detained because they're here illegally. But this particular bill does far more than that. It's particularly dangerous to all parental rights. It doesn't just apply in a situation where someone is apprehended by immigration enforcement. It really applies to everything. And one of the parts of the bill that we are super concerned about is regarding something called the Caregiver Authorization Affidavit. This thing has been around for a while, a couple decades, but this bill gives it extra authority. And so what it does, it allows just about anyone to make educational decisions and medical care decisions if they sign it. And so we were protesting that. We had thousands of folks showed up at the Capitol. We had a big lobby day. And when it was in the Appropriations Committee and the Senate, and it came out last week, and we were hoping they would amend it so it would protect parental rights. Sadly, it didn't. It changed, but it changed for the worse. And so what they added on here is already it says 3 different times on the caregiver affidavit that parents do not have to sign it. That means anyone who fills it out, if you simply want the ability to enroll a kid in school, you just simply name the child's age, and your name and where you live. and you say, hey, I got the child living with me. And then you can make decisions on where the kid goes to school. No parent has to sign it. Nobody has to verify that you are the person you say you are. Now, if you want to make medical decisions for a kid, you have to provide some extra things. You have to say that you are the child's mentor. You have to say that you're related to the child in some way, up to 5 degrees of kinship. That means you're a person's second cousins can sign the form and say, hey, I can't get a hold of the parents. I don't know where they are. And you have authority to make medical decisions. And the parents don't have to sign it. So what they added in the amendments was this, and I'm reading the amendment. It says this form is not required to be notarized. So if you know what notarization is, it's simply a process where you have to provide ID. And so when you sign something and you have it notarized, it means somebody else has checked that you are the person you say you are. That is not required in this form either. So it just means that there's hardly any security on who would fill this form out and make medical and education decisions for your child. We think this is incredibly dangerous, can be abused, and we are very appalled, shocked that we can't get the author to see our concerns. Even there was an article in the LA Times, just I think it was today or a couple of days ago, repeating what the author continually says, that this bill is about giving parents additional options on who to have their kids stay with. The bill doesn't do that. I mean, the author is saying that's what it does, but the bill on the affidavit says parents do not have to be involved. So I'm not sure how in the world she thinks this is involving more parents. It just makes it easier for strangers to make medical decisions for a kid. That's what it doesn't help parents to get more involved. So folks, you got to call your senators. The bill is going to be voted on in the Senate next week and the Assembly as well. So both your senator and Assembly member will be voting on this bill. Point them back to the authorization affidavit. I have a little copy right here, and I've highlighted right on there 3 different times where it says parents don't have to sign it and notarization is not required. That is not keeping kids safe.
And for all of you that are like, okay, I want to call my state senator. I don't know who they are. How do I call them? What's their number? What do I even say when I call them? Well, lucky for you, you can head to californiafamily.org. On our website, you will find our Action Center. On the Action Center, we have an AB 495 section where if you put in your information, we will tell you who your state senator is. We will provide you the phone number of their office to call, as well as we give a little analysis of 495 and talking points for you to use when you call them. And so it's super easy if you do it from your cell phone. If you like, again, californiafamily.org, Action Center, AB 495, all from your cell phone, you can actually directly call from our website to the office. If you do it on your computer, you can then just type in the number yourself on your phone, but we try to make it as simple as possible. Talking points provided. So definitely do that. And then send it around to all your friends to do. You can call them today, and you can call them over the weekend and leave a voice message. And then you can call them when they're back in the office next week and talk directly to someone. And we know that these calls make a difference when a mass amount of people start doing them. We've heard from offices before saying, did you guys send something out? We're getting a ton of phone calls. And we've heard from other offices saying like, wow, okay, if this is what my constituents want. So phone calls matter. Do the phone calls and get involved that way. But we will keep you guys all updated about how that floor hearing goes, how the vote goes. That way you'll know what your state senator did in regards to this bill. And Greg, if this bill gets voted on and gets enough yes votes, aye votes to pass the Senate floor, where does it head to next?
It goes to the governor's desk. So our governor, Gavin Newsom, will make the final decision. So he'll be calculating in his mind how much this will hurt him in his desire for elected office in the future. So the bigger, more concerned about this bill that is made publicly to let him know that this is going to destroy any of his chances to be president. If other candidates start picking this up as an issue and talking about it, and he's going to have to defend the affidavit, I think he's going to have a hard time defending it. Even if it gets past the legislature, we still have a chance to have him veto it. And even after that, to tell you the truth, if the bill's unconstitutional, it will not survive. It's just going to take a couple years to kill it. So anyway, there's all types of opportunity to speak up, and we hope legislators and Governor Newsom listen.
Absolutely. And that is not the only thing and update we have for you guys this week. As we mentioned in the beginning of the podcast episode, there is a situation at a middle school in Temecula, which is in Southern California. And we've talked a lot on podcasts, this podcast, on our articles, on our website, on social media, about the issue of protecting girls' sports and girls' spaces and female spaces. And maybe there's some of you that have listened, that have heard that and have thought, well, I have a daughter, or I have a niece, or I have a granddaughter, but they don't play sports, so I don't have to worry about this. Well, let's talk about what's happening at this middle school. At the middle school in Temecula, there is a male who is changing out in the girls' locker room in PE, to which students have to take a PE class. So even if your daughter doesn't play a sport, these girls are affected across all levels, whether it's the bathrooms in school, the locker rooms to change out PE, locker rooms for sports teams. And so there has been some stuff going through the school board as well there in Temecula. And so overall, though, we have had girls that have said no more. We don't want a male changing in our locker room. We don't want to have to change with a male in our locker room. And it's heartbreaking that 8th grade girls, 11 and 12-year-olds, are being put in the position to have to stand up to defend themselves. But before the walkout happened, just this past Tuesday, there was a school board meeting where some of the 8th grade girls went and spoke out and said they don't feel comfortable with the situation. But the reason this was talked about at the school board is because the Temecula Valley School Board is trying to pass a policy, and not everyone on the school board is in support of the policy as it is currently written. We have Dr. Joseph Kromowski and Jen Wiersma, who have been standing to defend girls' sports and spaces. But Greg, this policy that the 3 other school board members are introducing and trying to pass through, what are we seeing in it, and how is it kind of hurtful to these girls?
Right. I talked to one of the school board members just the other day, interviewed him earlier this week, and he was actually at the walkout. And his name is Dr. Joseph Komorowski, a strong Christian. And he said this policy is already in place. And what this policy is that it's telling girls, hey, if you don't want to undress in front of a male in the locker room, we will provide you an accommodation. But it's either a religious accommodation or a mental health related accommodation. And I'm going to read you what this mental health accommodation actually says, and I'm reading from it right here. It says, the district recognizes that some students may face mental challenges such as anxiety, distress, and emotional discomfort that affect their participations in a school environment. The district recognizes mental health challenges may arise from a student using shared facilities such as bathrooms or locker rooms. And then it offers, if you fill out this mental health form, you can exempt yourself from having to undress in front of a person of the opposite sex. But you have to list down here your mental health condition, whether you've been diagnosed with anxiety, PTSD. You have to provide documentation, a medical diagnosis, medical counseling records. So more or less what they're saying, if you little sixth grade girl who's 11 or 12 doesn't want to undress in front of a eighth grade boy, then you must have a mental health problem. If you document, we'll provide a special accommodation for you. So it's the girl who has modesty and feels uncomfortable undressing in front of the opposite sex that has the mental health problem, not the boy who thinks he's a girl. So that has caused a lot of outrage, and you can imagine parents are completely frustrated that they have to, if their young girl is uncomfortable, they have to label her as mentally, give her a mental diagnosis, which is so ridiculous. So this bill, this particular piece of policy is going to be discussed. It was discussed last week and postponed. It's now going to be discussed next week on the 9th, and they're hoping to get rid of it and put in place something else like a privacy. Like, hey, I want my privacy, and you have to respect my privacy, because that's what we're really talking about here. Is young kids deserve privacy, and they shouldn't be made to undress in front of the opposite sex.
Absolutely. And just think about, where have we gotten in society where this is even an idea in place that we're going to have the girls that don't want to change in a locker room with a male, they're going to have to be the ones that say they have a mental health issue. It is disturbing. And so that's why these students have decided to do the walkout. And if you are located in the Southern California area in Temecula and you want to go speak out at the school board meeting, that's going to be Tuesday, September 9th. We'll be posting more information on that, but it's going to be the Temecula Unified School Board meeting on Tuesday, September 9th, where they're going to be talking about this policy again. But the students decided they wanted to do a walkout. And so the girls and their parents planned a student-led walkout at their school. And it was during first period where there was PE and where this kind of situation was happening. And the parents and the girls weren't sure if it was just going to be the 5 or 6 girls that wanted to do it, or if there was going to be a lot more people that joined. And so what it kind of ended up looking like is there ended up being maybe about 30 students that joined this walkout, males and females. The boys stood there with signs about protecting girl spaces. When you talk to the girls, it was pretty clear that this walkout wasn't anti-anyone, wasn't against anyone. They just want to be able to change in their locker room, and there not be a male in their locker room that's also using it to change. So it was really powerful for those girls to stand out there and do it and hold signs, but there was also people on the opposite side that did attend, and they stood across the street with their signs. And I think something that was really powerful was those that were pro males in girl spaces. They stood across the street, and it was about a dozen adults. And the side that was pro protecting female spaces, of course, there was adults and parents there, but that's where all the students were standing. And they were wearing Save Girl sports bracelets, and they all put on little white bows to show that they were united together in this, and holding the posters and doing chants. And so if you are watching live and not just listening, we're going to play a little clip so you guys can kind of see what it looked like out there.
Protect girl spaces! Protect girl spaces! Protect girl spaces! Woo! One! Protect!
So you guys could see there was those kids chanting the Protect Girl Spaces, and then across the street was just the 12 people that were there in opposition to the girls. But there was also one person that chose to kind of come on to our side of the street and try to, doesn't really seem like have a conversation, but just try to start an issue. And let's watch the video clip of that.
Deserves equal protection under the law. I can stare too, because I know that I'm right. And I know you all are on the wrong side of history, the wrong side of history. And I know this because I teach it. You have nothing to say. That's right, because you have no defense. You are endangering children's lives by doing this. This is not making anybody.
So if you were watching, you could see that this person was standing there, and something that I thought was interesting is she was mad that we were not responding to her about the fact that she thinks males should be in girls' spaces. And if you caught it there, she said that we're not saying anything because we're on the wrong side of history, and that she's on the right side of history. And how does she know that? Because she teaches it. So after kind of talking to some of the local people to that area, she is actually a high school history teacher at Temecula Valley High School. Her name is Dawn Murray Sibby, and she has made it clear that she is standing with males and female spaces. And so it's kind of disturbing if you think about that there are history teachers that are teachers in general that are out there defending this ideology, not standing with the girls, and are making it clear that they're going to continue to support males and female spaces. And so she has definitely not remained silent in the past. She actually sued her school district in the past because she wants kindergarten through 12th grade to be taught about critical race theory. And so it definitely shows what side she is on, which evidently to be a teacher, you don't have to have a specific political point of view, moral point of view, things like that, but you are supposed to teach and not indoctrinate. And she made it very clear that she is going to be teaching her side of history, not the truth, not reality, not the protection of females.
Right, and she was pretty darn obnoxious and really arrogant towards these parents. Completely did not care about how these young kids might be uncomfortable. Right. I mean, when did this happen? When did women just completely give up the desire for a bathroom that included just females? Like, who decided this? Right? It's not the public. It's being pushed on by our government. And many times, it's said, that the culture is downstream from politics, meaning when culture changes, it eventually percolates up and it becomes policy. But I think in this instance, it's the exact opposite. Policy changed first. The law changed 10 years ago and said anybody who identifies as a male can go, or a female, anyone who identifies as a female can go in a female space. Now, was that something everybody believed? I mean, no. I mean, and even now, I think if it was widespread, if it was happening in junior highs all the time, if males simply today, hey, I'm feeling a little non-binary and I'm going in the female bathroom, once that becomes normalized, I do not think this is popular at all, which means policy is being pushed down into culture, right, against our will. And especially in these conservative areas, like this particular Temecula, it's represented by more conservative Republicans. But, we've been putting up with it for so long. I think now we're like, okay, we can't do this anymore. This is not going to work long term. I mean, I guess people thought there were only going to be so few people identifying as trans that, who's it going to really affect? Well, now it's almost going to affect every single school, because almost every single school's got kids who identify as something different than their actual sex. It's becoming widespread belief. Mm-hmm. And it's only going to get worse until folks stand up and say, no, we will not put up with this anymore.
Absolutely. And if you have this issue with your child and their school district and their sports and don't know what to do, would like help, please reach out to us at California Family Council, whether it is on social media, via email, calling our office. We are happy to help and get involved and let people know what is happening at these schools. So please get in touch with us. But
Right.
we also want to make sure, if you have not seen on our social media or on our website, we have our upcoming Southern California Gala on October 4th, where we're going to be talking a lot about the girls' sports issue because our keynote speaker is Bethany Hamilton. I'm sure many of you guys know her as Soul Surfer. And she's going to be there to share her story about her shark attack and losing her arm and continuing to stay strong in her faith and get back in the water and continue to surf and really just trust in the Lord and his plans. But she's also going to share about the fact that she recently lost some major sponsors because she took a stand and said that she will not be competing in a competition that allows males to compete in the female surf category. And so we're going to be diving more into this with Bethany Hamilton. Again, that's October 4th. And you can get more information and look at tickets for that at cfcgala.com. But with that, we will see you all next time.